Hello, my name is Christopher Stanford, and today I will be doing my argumentative speech. My topic is gun control, and should gun control be adopted in the United States? So here we go. 88.8 is the number for the United States, ranked number 1 in the entire world. 3 times more than Canada. 30.5 is the Canadian number, ranked 13th in the world. Now what the heck am I talking about? I'm talking about the numbers that are given out by the Nation Master that show the number of violent crimes using a gun per 100 residents. 100 residents, 88.8. That's crazy. So some background information. Talking about the United States and gun control and anything gun related. Here we go. According to the Council on Foreign Relations, the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution states that a well-regulated military being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. You're telling me that by giving guns and giving people the right to have guns at all times, in the street, everywhere, is going to keep a secure and free state? Not sure. Let's talk some more. A number of gun advocates consider ownership of birthright an essential part of the nation's heritage. Essential part of the nation's heritage. You're telling me that having a militia where everybody can have a gun and can be a part of the military to keep a free state and secure state is heritage of the nation. Okay. The United States, with less than 5% of the world's population, has more, or just about, than 35 to 50% of the world's civilian-owned guns. This is according to a 2007 report by the Switzerland-based Small Arms Survey. 35 to 50% with only 5% of the world's population. This is ridiculous. According to a graph by the Council of Foreign Relations, firearms homicide per 100,000 people in 2013, 3.5. That's the highest in all the world. Number one in the country. Number 1 in the world, I mean. Okay? Obviously, many gun rights prominent say that these statistics do not indicate a cause and effect relationship, and note that the gun rates of homicide and other gun crimes in the United States have dropped since the early 1990s. Now, I was born in 1995 personally, and I've not seen any difference since I was born. Now, obviously, there has been more terrorist attacks in the past few years since 9/11 and stuff like that. But there's been just the same amount of gun-related problems and mass shootings, or even more maybe, because now people are scared, so they carry their guns around more. And they start shooting at people because, oh my God, I'm scared, something's going to happen, and I need to have my gun with me at all times to stay safe and be free. Very controversial. Let's continue. The Gun Control Act of 1968 prohibited the sale of firearms to several categories of individuals. Now, nowadays, let's think about it. You're 18 years old, you have a little background check. You are eligible to buy a gun. You're 18 years old. You're not even allowed to drink yet you can have a gun. Okay? That doesn't make a lot of sense. For no reason. You can just have a gun to have a gun, just to say, hey, I have a gun. Okay. Now, in 1968, it was prohibited to sale a firearm to people under the age of 18 years old. Those with a criminal record, those with mental disability, those that were aliens, and a few more things. Pretty much the same thing that we have now. If you're just a regular person above 18 years old, you have a little background check, you can have a gun. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, as of 2016, there were no federal laws banning semi-automatic assault weapons, military-style 50 caliber rifles, handguns, large capacity ammunition, anything. There were no federal laws that were banning any of these. So you could walk around with a rifle. You could walk around with whatever the hell you want. You need to hide it, but you can walk around with it. And if you feel threatened, you can pull it out and use it. So just think about this. If you feel threatened, yet the person is not doing anything wrong, but because that person feels threatened, there might be a shooting for basically no reason. Somebody's going to be killed for no reason. Pretty crazy. So, obviously, you guys know that by now I do really think that the USA should adopt gun control. Okay? Because I think there is a cause and effect relationship between people having guns and gun violence in the United States. Now, obviously, there's people that are against this, okay? So let's talk about that first. So, why some Americans do not want to have gun control, do not want to adopt it. So, according to the Federalist, a newspaper in the United States, Americans want to be safe and be able to defend themselves from terrorist or criminal acts that they might possibly encounter. They feel that by putting the power in the hands of people is the best way to control and maintain a safe country. Okay. In the article, the writer asks a great question. Would Parisians have defended differently themselves in the recent terrorist attacks if they were allowed to carry firearms? Now, this is also a very controversial question, okay? If this would have happened in the United States, people would have had guns, but you don't know if that person is a real terrorist because you don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're carrying in their bag. So if you decide to shoot them for some reason, well, you could become a hero because that person was going to do a terrorist act. However, if that person is okay and they're not doing anything wrong, but you think that that person is going to do something wrong, you take your gun out, you shoot them, well then you just killed an innocent person. Okay, it's very, very controversial and thrown up in the air. It's a lot about thought and personal thought and knowing, not knowing, you know? So some Americans think that some of these actions may have been avoided in Paris if if gun carrying was legal in France. I agree to a certain extent. Now, however, I still think that gun control should be adopted in the United States. First, there's thought that Americans that carrying a gun at all times is going to make them have a safer state and a safer country. My question is, how does this make any sense? Obviously, if someone feels threatened, they're going to pull out their gun and start shooting at the person. This issue is created by the people. Someone takes out a gun, you carry a gun around. Why do you need to carry a gun around? How about you just communicate? How about you communicate your problems out? You don't need to take a gun out and start shooting people all the time. That's ridiculous. Okay? But in that mindset, people say, well, if I have a gun, I'm going to be able to stop terrorist attacks and I'm going to be able to have a safer country because of that. Now, a study conducted by the National Research Council refuted that there were no scientific explanations behind what's so-called the right to carry law. This is CNN that says this. This was more of a thought than an actual theory that Americans had in order to keep the country safe. However, these actions to keep the country safe turned into a disaster because gun control increased and actually made the United States as a whole less safe. Looking at Uniform Crime Reports data from 1979 to 2012, we find that on average, the 33 states that adopted the right to carry law over this period experienced violent crime rates that increased from 4% to 19% than the 10 years after that they adopted these laws. CNN, once again. Secondly, the United States should take example in Australia that adopted gun control and resort to several mass shootings between the years of 1979 to 1996. Crazy enough, there has been more than 430 deaths and about 1,300 people wounded in mass shootings this year only, 2016, since January 2016 to September. Only in the United States. If that doesn't speak to you in itself, I don't know what does. Okay. So the story in Australia goes that they had 13 mass shootings in the 18-year period from 1979 to 1996, and there was none succeeding this because they took care of their business. The turning point was that in 1996, Port Arthur massacre in Tasmania, in which a gunman killed 35 individuals using semi-automatic weapons. Okay. In the wake of this, The conservative federal government succeeded in implementing tough new gun control laws throughout the country. Now, the government also imposed a mandatory gun buyback that substantially reduced the gun possession in Australia. The effect was that both gun suicides and homicides fell. In addition, the 1996 legislation made it a crime to use firearms in self-defense. The United States, I think, should do this. Now, think about it. I think that gun control should be adopted in the United States because there's too much crime related to gun use. The United States is becoming a less and less safe place every single day. And who knows what might happen next once this political campaign ends. It's so controversial and so many people are mad about all kinds of stuff and are frustrated. Now, what's going to happen when Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton comes in and people react to this? I think it's time to cut down mass shootings right now and to take care of our deals. This will be beneficial to all Americans because the United States will, in conclusion, in result, become a safer place and more lives will be saved. Thank you.